Ladies and gentlemen, and this is the Elden Rings lore explained part 2, I guess, by channel VaatiVidya. I've already seen the first portion of this. The lore is kind of interesting. I mean, you wouldn't think games like this would have lore, because let's be honest, it's mostly about the gameplay, right? But it's really fun to see how different and unique, I mean dark obviously, but lore it is, right? I mean, I like how they are still tackling with the basis of everything, like the gods. Usually lore resolves around, so there was a guy who had power, but he was kind of like a god, and then shit happens. In this one we are talking about some beings that are beyond these realms, right? We're talking about the fundamental gods of the place, right? Like how they want to basically meddle with this place, right? There was a ring basically who created this kind of a laws for this, right? And so someone else came and just said just stop death, right? Capture death or whatever in her companion or whatever that is, right? So nobody actually dies. So this is really good lore. I mean, when you play game, do you realize all this lore, or this guy is really unique and really just dig inside to really find all this lore? Because I'm pretty sure I played a bit of it, and I wasn't focusing that much. But I'm pretty sure you can't really tell the lore that way unless you're really focusing in it. So let's watch this one.
Those close to it in Leyndell, the capital city of the Erd Tree, the tree bestowed blessings. For example, the dew that dropped from its branches were like jewels. It loomed overhead as a constant reminder of order, and its roots reached far and wide, relieving many of the burden of death. In fact, Erd Tree burial was one of the highest honors a hero could receive. One by one, the previous factions of the world fell. The giants were put to the sword, and their fell god was killed by Marika herself. The ancient dragons broke down the walls of Leyndell, but met fierce retaliation. However, I think the House of the Erd Tree encountered the most trouble against the land to their southwest, Leonia. Here, the House of the Moon repelled their offensives time and time again, and I mean that literally, because there was not just one but two wars fought here, and in both of these, there was no victory for the Golden nor for the Moon. And I suspect it was probably because of these lobsters. These damn things can snipe you from like a mile away, and it's bullshit. Actually, it was probably because of the Carrier Knights, who, according to their weapons, were able to wield sorcerous battle skills, and despite numbering fewer than 20, this power made them a match for even the champions of gold in battle. These enchanted knights were anointed by the Lunar Queen, a young astrologer who went on to establish the House of Carrier as royalty in this land. With her bewitching lunar magic, she won over the Academy of Raya Lucaria, where glintstone sorcery was studied, and united the Carrion royal family and the learned scholars of Raya Lucaria defended their home from the golden aggressors. At the head of this great golden army was Radagon.
Lord Radagon was a great champion, possessed of flowing red locks. He came to these lands at the head of a great golden host when he met Lady Renala in battle.
These two champions clashed, fell in love, and joined their houses.
Radagon once cleansed himself with celestial dew, repented his territorial aggressions, and swore his love to Renala. The order of the Erd Tree and the fate of the moon were conjoined, and all the wounds of war forgiven.
You might think it strange that the Greater Will would permit this union, but it's not too odd, all things considered. As with most From Software games, sorcery and faith are just two sides of the same coin, and both of these powers stem from the cosmos. Radagon and Renala were known to have 3 children together. Lunar Princess Rani, who inherited her mother's propensity for lunar magic, Radahn, who took after his father Radagon and would go on to master gravitational magic, and Rykard, who pioneered new hex sorceries and would go on to feed himself to a great serpent. It follows that at some point after this, Marika began to harbor doubts. Doubts about the Golden Order, that she had had a hand in creating.
In Marika's own words, I declare mine intent to search the depths of the Golden Order through understanding of the proper way. Our faith Our grace is increased. Those blissful early days of blind belief are long past. My comrades, why must ye falter?
And it's at this point that we should talk about Marika's motivations, her character. This is surely going to be one of those huge points of debate in the coming years, but for now, my working theory is that she wanted to discover the truth behind order and the truth behind the greater will, and she believed that bonds had to be broken so that they could be better understood. She believed that there was great meaning to be found in hardship.
Queen Marika has high hopes for us, that we continue to struggle unto eternity.
For Lord Godfrey, his struggle ended at the end of his campaigns. According to his armor, he led the war against the giants, faced the Storm Lord alone, and then there came a moment when his last worthy enemy fell, and it was then, as the story is told, that the hue of Lord Godfrey's eyes faded. In truth, he was robbed of his grace. Then Marika sent him away.
My lord, and thy warriors, I divest each of thee of thy grace. With thine eyes dimmed, ye will be driven from the lands between. Ye will wage war in a land afar, where ye will live and die.
This became known as the Long March of the Tarnished, as Godfrey and his tarnished descendants walked away from the lands between. But Queen Marika absolutely had a plan here, that Lord Godfrey and his descendants would one day return stronger, having struggled outside of grace.
Then,
Alright, I was gonna say, like, why the fuck would she do that? But okay, that mentality, like, through struggle is like, that would forge a more stronger, oral person, I guess. So she hoped that they would come back stronger. Damn, that is something. So she really believed in that theory. That
After
struggle
thy
is like,
death,
yeah.
I will give back what I once claimed, return to the lands between, wage war, and brandish the Elden ring, grow strong in the face of death. Warriors of my lord, Lord Godfrey.
Soon after, she found a new husband. Either that or a new husband was found for her.
When Godfrey, first Elden Lord, was hounded from the lands between, Radagon left Rennala to return to the Erdtree capital, becoming Queen Marika's second husband and king consort, taking the title of Second Elden Lord. The mystery endures to this day as to why Lord Radagon would cast Lady Rennala aside, and moreover, why a mere champion would be chosen for the seat of Elden Lord.
why would someone aside? Come on, man. Right? You're like, yeah, I'm gonna be king. Fuck this shit. He just walked to the medical, like, yeah, make me king.
Whatever the case, as a part of this union, Radagon's prior 3 children with Rennala became demigod stepchildren, granted grace thanks to their new family tree. Rennala was broken by this, and so was her country, Leonia. The Queen's set reads, when Rennala, head of both the Academy of Raya Lucaria and the Carian royal family, lost her husband Radagon, her heart went along with him, and then those at the Academy realized that Rennala was no champion after all. In the wake of Radagon's betrayal and Rennala's poor judgment, Leonia struggled with civil war, with the Academy of Raya Lucaria on one side and the Carian royals on the other. And it's here, during the age of the Erdtree, that Lunar Princess Rani, daughter of Rennala and Radagon, stole a fragment of the Rune of Death.
It happened during the golden age of the Erdtree, long before the shattering of the Elden Ring. Someone stole a fragment of the Rune of Death from Malekith, the Black Blade.
As mentioned previously, Malekith was Marika's shadow, and he had sealed destined death in a black blade. Then a fragment, only a fragment, of this Rune of Death was stolen. And once this happened, Malekith went a step further in protecting destined death. He bound the blade within his own flesh, such that none might rob death ever again. It was too late, however. This fragment of the Rune of Death was used immediately, that night, to kill a demigod, Marika's own son, Godwyn the Golden.
That was the first recorded death of a demigod in all history, and it became the catalyst. Soon, the Elden Ring was smashed, and thus sprang forth the war known as the Shattering.
Now, there is a lot of really credible evidence that Marika was behind this plot to have a fragment of the Rune of Death stolen. There's also a ton of evidence that Marika is behind the entirety of your Tarnished quest, but we'll talk about that in another video.
Why would she have her own son killed? Damn, this is some dark shit.
All you really need to know, in terms of the timeline at least, is this. After the marriage of Marika and Radagon, and after a fragment of the Rune of Death was stolen, Marika went on to shatter the Elden Ring, and Radagon attempted to repair it, to no avail. The Elden Ring had been broken into runes, some great and some small.
You know, it's said that Lord Radagon harbored a secret. A famed sculptor of the Erdtree capital was once summoned to render Lord Radagon's likeness in giant stature, when he glimpsed the skeleton in Radagon's closet. And as such, it's said the great statue harbors his secret too.
Of course, the huge twist in Elden Ring is that Radagon is Marika, or depending on what you believe, he became her, for she knew it was going to happen.
In Marika's own words, O Radagon, leal hound of the Golden Order, thou art yet to become me. Thou art yet to become a god. Let us be shattered, both. Mine other self.
You can tell when From
Okay.
Software is keeping something a little bit open-ended, and of everything in Elden Ring's lore, this will also go on to be one of the biggest unknowns as we move forward.
Yeah,
For
that's-
example, the wording, thou art yet to become me, reinforces that Marika and Radagon were two separate entities before the Shattering. However, in contrast, there is also evidence that Radagon was always part of Marika. For example, Enya says that
The demigods are each and all the direct offspring of Queen Marika.
but how can this be if Radagon married Renala and had those demigod children? The only way that makes sense is if Radagon was always Marika and he just went over there to seduce Renala long ago. I'll present more concrete theories in the future, but
Yeah,
on
that
this
makes
matter,
sense.
the most important thing is, what do you think? While you can figure out a ton of Elden Ring's story, not all of it is open to interpretation. Certain things are, and this is one of them. And you
Yeah, I mean, look, every lore has to have some kind of a mystery behind it, where the whole base kind of debates it. It's fun, but if you make it like too much like question mark, like people can get frustrated with it. So I don't know where this falls in that category. Is it a fun thing that you speculate, or is it like, holy shit, just give us some clues, like what is the reality? I don't know, man. But this is interesting. Like he said, like if all the demigods are part of Marika, right? Yeah, so that would make sense, like how Radagon is Marika from the start. Otherwise, how those other would be demigods?
interpretation is a big part of what makes this story special. At any rate, the union of Radagon and Marika seems to be a union of two fundamental opposing laws of the Golden Order. We mentioned these laws earlier, actually. There's the law of causality, and Marika is an agent of cause and effect. And there's the law of regression, as Radagon is a character who aspires to be complete and regress together. So I have a theory that forcing these two beings that represent these concepts together would have corrected Marika's deviance. But even so, she was imprisoned in the Erdtree for the crime of the Shattering.
Marika's trespass demanded a heavy sentence. But even in shackles, she remains a god and the vision's vessel.
The conjoined Radagon and Marika even had two demigod children of their own, Miquella and Millennia. These two children were born afflicted. Miquella was cursed with eternal childhood, and Millennia harbored a horrific rot within. Even so, these two children were both chosen as Empyreans. They were immensely sacred beings and eligible to inherit godhood from the Greater Will. Perhaps the Greater Will was just desperate to find a worthy successor. And indeed, in the Shattering War to come, many would try to claim the shards of the Elden Ring, and they would try to take the throne, including, of course, the Tarnished, who returned from their long march at long last, which we'll talk about in the next main lore video. I should probably also mention here that if you become a patron, you'll see upcoming lore videos early, as that's one of the rewards you get if you pledge to the $3 tier. And if you think my channel really adds a lot of value to the Souls games for you to the point where you pledge $20, then in this new tier you'll receive a new mug.
So her first husband and obviously the people who are kind of banished returned with somewhat power from the Elden Ring, the Shattered Elden Ring.
Every 3 months that has a unique design on it, to do with the games by From Software. There are 4 to collect. The first one you'll get is inspired by Dark Souls, then Elden Ring, then Sekiro, and finally Bloodborne. And they all have fantastic art that I worked on with an amazing artist named Chu. But anyway, I figured this is the right place to end this video because the information here is going to be overwhelming. I bet it probably was too overwhelming, you know? It took me ages to commit these names and the relationships they had with other characters to memory, so I hope you guys are doing alright. One thing that helped me a lot was that we designed an enormous mind map with pretty much all of Elden Ring's lore, all of its item descriptions, all of it.
Just you see, then you only thing you do is scream. Alright. This guy is really good, especially with all the lore channels. I definitely respect this guy because I definitely feel like Elden Rings is one of those games whose lore is not going to be obvious. Like any average gamer who play this game will probably won't even realize it, like not even a small portion of it. So, somebody really needs to dig in deep to realize all this deep lore.
Its dialogues, all of the relationships between characters that we can think of, we added all of this together and it helped a ton in learning about the story and visualizing it all. And one day I will make this asset available to you all because I think, after doing it, I think this is the quintessential way to piece together the story, and I think giving you guys this asset eventually will make that accessible for people. So I'm really excited about that. I want to thank Absa and Zard for accepting the paid task of helping me put all the raw data into this mind maps.
Yeah, this is just fucking awesome. See, this is why I'm kind of getting pissed off at Bethesda Game Studios. Look at this studio. Like, Bloodborne was not that long ago, right? I mean, considering. And Elden Ring, like, just took few years and they created this kind of a deep fucking lore for it, right? This studio. And Bethesda Game Studios can't make a good lore game anytime soon. They take fucking 10 years. God knows when Elder Scrolls gonna arrive, right? I know they're doing Starfield right now, but if that game's lore sucks, I'm gonna be pissed, right? Like, Bethesda Game Studios is like, 25 years old studio who does this lore and lore game shit, right? Their first proper lore game was, I guess, in Morrowind. So that's like 20 years ago, right? So they should know this better, because this Elden Ring is perfect example of, like, in the modern world with the modern mechanics and, I guess, engines, it's really hard to make a good lore game. Bullshit. Look at this. Look at the Elden Ring. Right? I'm so glad this game came out, because anytime somebody just bullshits, like, in the modern world, it's hard to do. Look at the Elden Ring. How did they do it then? So this is really good. Elden Ring is just perfection from all sides, right? This game is going to be one of those games that people are going to measure with it, right? With other games. Like, look at this shit, how greatly this is done. Alright, well, that was Elden Ring's lore by the channel VaatiVidya. If you like my next one, don't forget to subscribe. If you want to do more videos like, demigods from this channel, comment down, I guess. And yeah, I'll see you next time.